Three, two, one. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It's Friday night. It's July 28th at the time of this broadcast. And I'm coming to you from the secret underground studios of Ashon Comics that don't exist. We like to keep it that way. Don't keep the world believing we don't actually exist. I'm trying a new thing where everyone else is doing clickbait and trying to get hits. I'm doing the opposite. I'm trying to pretend that I'm not real. No, I'm just I I gotta deal with my own issues. Anyways, welcome. Thank you for being here. This is a part two of our reading session for Matt Wagner's Trinity, and I'm not trying to remember exactly what what this is called. This is called, yeah, Matt. Is it? I was having a hard time finding it earlier because I would just search Trinity and they wouldn't find it, and then apparently it's like Matt Wagner, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Trinity. Anyways, it looked like Trinity on the cover to me. So, how y'all doing? Froggy was here first. Melania says she's chair dancing. Good to see you guys. Unfortunately, I made the mistake, which is kind of like rolling the dice. I'm in, and trying to not roll seven, um, or six, or eight, or nine, 10, or 11, um, and not coinciding with an England team stream. So there's that, unfortunately. But I never know when he's going to stream. It's never announced. So, uh, for those of you that are missing out, if you're not here, you're not hearing what I'm saying. If you're watching this later, apologize. I try to avoid conflicts so that everyone can watch all the streams and not have to pick and choose, but there's only so many hours in the day. So, this has been a really fun book. I've decided to read it cold, which means I've never read it before. And for some, it just something spoke to me about this. I like Matt Wagner. I became a fan of DC Comics later in life. Back in the 80s when I got into comics, I probably would have never read this. Even in the 90s. I wouldn't say never. If someone really would have recommended it to me, but I would have been very resistant. Like DC was not my go-to. But these days, I really have grown to appreciate the DC universe, and unfortunately, what DC publishing is actually doing with said universe, I find non-preferable to me. So I'm in that conflict. It's kind of reminds me of when I got back into comics in, was it 2017, 2018? Um, and Marvel was just completely shitting the bed. Like I was a Marvel fanboy, and I like looked at X-Men and I was like, I don't even recognize what the hell is this. I was like, that's my bag. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, I didn't have a home. And that's why I got into DC Comics. As a matter of fact, that the only reason I got into comics is because someone convinced me that DC was actually doing some pretty good stuff in this whole rebirth. And so I picked up, it's funny, the first two books that I got were um, White Knight and Mr. Miracle, the Tom King book. This was having to do with diversity in comics, which was became Comics Matter with your boy Zach. It's Richard Meyer. Anyways, most of you, if you know my channel, you probably know him. Anyways, he was super hot on these books. And so I was like, oh, I like Batman. I mean, everyone likes Batman. So I decided to try that. I tried the Mr. Miracle. And it wasn't that I hated it. I just didn't stick with it. But I immediately jumped onto other things. Decided like found out about like what was Superman was doing, so I was getting into that, and it was just a really wonderful time. I felt kind of like a kid again, discovering comics anew, like when I was back in the '80s, and I was an X-Men guy. Like that was the first comics I ever bought. But then I started branching out, and I was like, I'm gonna try this Iron Man book, see what that's all about. Try this Punisher book, and like I felt like that again. It was a really fun time, and so I got to see that a lot of my prejudices for DC were unfounded. Also, I think I was seeing it with a more mature eye, so I started liking it. And now in DC, Superman is one of my favorite superheroes of all time when he's written well. The Superman can be very dumb. Not every, and this is of course going to be true to any character. I mean, it used to be once upon a time Wolverine was my favorite character of all time, but they haven't written him well in like 30 years. So I don't even know who he is anymore. I'm just like, I don't give a shit about Wolverine. It's really weird how you can take a character like go your favorite to becoming like I can care less. That's really sad. I kind of know how Vankman feels a little bit. RDV, my co-host on late night comic streams, 9 p.m. Pacific time, every Mondays. Come check that out. When he kind of, he's a big Spider-Man guy, and he feels kind of alienated because Spider-Man's not Spider-Man anymore. So, and then speaking of which, Marani is in the chat too. Like her character's Iron Man. Although I guess she's getting a pretty decent Iron Man. She's said positive things about the current Iron Man run. So that's good. Um, it's good when people can get the comics they like, the characters they like. But me, I kind of feel kind of lost without a home. So my current modern comic reading consumption is entirely indie comics these days, but that does not invalidate all the wonderful back issues that exist. And part of the story time here serves two purposes. It's a chance for me to read more good comics. I can read comics that I want to share, comics that are like beloved to me, and get to share with other people because sometimes getting someone else to pick up another book themselves and read it is a little tough, but I found that if I read on here, they might be willing to just tune in and listen, and it might change their mind, it might not. And other times, there's just books that I haven't read, or someone's recommended to me, or whatever, and I just kind of want to experience it cold, and I want to do it live. You get a live reaction from me, so that's where we're at. It's kind of stalling a little bit for time to see if anyone else wants to drag their way in here, but it's hard to compete with Fantastic Four covers from the Silver Age. That's what's going on the other stream. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive into this. Let's see. Let me learn how to work this newfangled machine called the internet, called Streamlabs, OBS Streamlabs. So I'll just flip back a couple pages here. When last we left, um, Diana, also known as Wonder Woman, had been sort of resurrected from the Lazarus pits. They had an encounter with Ra's al Ghul, and of course, I respect accurately. Some of the modern comic writers kind of don't take this part to task. That when you when you're in the from the Lazarus pits, it corrupts you. Like there's like a side effect. It's not just like, oh, free resurrection, everything's good. Um, which is part of my problem how they've been using it recently. It's just more like, oh, hey, it's like a do-over. Just Lazarus pit them. Oh, they're dead. Just toss them in Lazarus. Like, no, there's is bad. Lazarus pits are supposed to be bad, right? And that's one of the things I love about Red Hood, which is formerly, well, he is still Jason Todd, but formerly the second Robin, Jason Todd. Like part of his story, his whole story is that he died. The Joker killed him. He came back to life because of Lazarus pits, but he's now messed up. He's having to deal with these scars of the resurrection. And when he's written that way, it becomes a really cool thing that he has to deal with. It makes for a good story. When the writers just ignore it, it's just like, oh, whatever. But that's one of the reasons I kind of find Red Hood an interesting character, an interesting evolution of who before was just like copycat Robin. It was like, oh, he's just want to be Dick Grayson, I get, like, and now it's like he's come into his own. He's got his own issues, and he's got different set of morals. He uses guns. Batman doesn't like it, so they come to conflict. I dig it. I really wish Red Hood got a better treatment, to be honest, but what are you gonna do? The other thing about is that Wonder Woman in this continuity, which is important because DC's got a ton of continuities because they crisis all over the place and change things. Sometimes Wonder Woman's can fly. Sometimes she can. I guess she's the daughter of Zeus. Other time, I don't know. But apparently, I don't profess to know all the different ones, but I know that they're different. In this one, they talk about the story that her essence being kind of from the divine gods and she was made from clay or whatever, it has something to do similarity with the Lazarus pits. So when she goes through, not only, I mean, she has a unique reaction that hasn't really been explained, but we'll see. We'll see what that is. I don't know how much that's going to affect the story. Um, so here we are. This is issue 3, and thanks for listening to me blather on. I'm gonna get a quick drink of my raspberry iced tea. It's like splashing around in the mic. I don't know. I don't know how loud that was. Um, all right, here we go. Oh yeah, by the way, for those that weren't on the first reading, I am still suffering a check congestion from COVID recovery, and so reading, talking out loud, or whatever, kind of agitates my lungs, makes me have to cough. So if you hear me go silent or whatever, I'm just saving you. Try not to cough into your ears. Um, so here we go. Paradise. Island refuge of the Amazons. Hang on. You should be able to see it pretty soon now. Mystically hidden from the prying eyes of the modern world. Bruce never likes to fly with me. He insisted on wearing the harness just in case. There. Chuck. He does love his little surprises. I gotta say, pause. I'll try not to pause too much, but this is such a cool thing for me. Since Superman is often when he's teamed up with, Batman, kind of has to carry Batman around. It so makes sense that Batman would design a specific harness like this. Like, it just so makes sense. But I also love that he's kind of grumpy about it. Like he's just not 100% comfortable. Like I I think it just adds some character. But anyways, sorry. Like I couldn't see that hidden release mechanism. Within sight of the landmass, he cuts free on his own reconnaissance. He comes in low. Let Kent draw all the attention. Immediately picks up the signal. Irregular, but nearby. An easy track, but still. He has seen all manner of settings, yet something here unsettles him. For once, the costume feels heavy and obtrusive. It itches. He finds himself distracted by the dapple of sunlight, the flutter of butterfly wings, the sparkle of dewdrops. I have returned to wellness. The island's harmony has soothed me, healed the raw edge of my soul's rebirth. Divine Mother, blessed are your spirits. Her grace, her splendor, so unlike the frenzied aftermath of the pit. Unaware, he succumbs. Thank God you're Batman? What are you doing? Okay. To the island's enchantment. Overcome. What has come over him? Ow. Oof. Regardless, no one man handles me. Why have you come here? How did you find me? Tracking signal. Slipped a bug into your hair when I freed you from the chains. Only a survivor's reflexes saved his skull from being crushed. You, you thug! But that doesn't answer how you got here. How did you locate the island? Diana! Are you alright? It's a man! An intruder! Answer me! Faced with danger, his mind clears, bracing to defend himself. He realizes they are all women. On Themyscira? Sacrilege! Why is he dressed like that? Scree! The sentries swarm, but don't attack. Their cries are a heralding, not an alarm. Blessed Apollo! Again. Hi. I thrill at the very sight of him. Well met, Valerian. You have seen all the sentries' reaction. They are eyes of Zeus himself, and yet they find no threat in this visitation. These men have come to speak with me, and I would do so in private. Commander, return with your guard to the city. Tell no one of this incident, not even my mother. I will inform her when I return. Princess Diana? Now go, in Hera's name. Princess? Now then, I can imagine why you two have followed me, but we wanted to check. But as you might perceive, we're none too used to visitors around here. We need to know. There's a small atoll 10 miles south of the island. Meet me there and we will continue this discussion. And, Superman, you might want to help your friend rediscover his manners. What? Never mind. Let's go. I saw that, you know. That's enough, Kent. You're lucky she didn't take another swipe at you, Kent. Men are so obvious. The Gobi Desert. Most logical of the remaining strongholds. Well hidden, heavily armed, easily defended. At least, that's the theory. Slow, sloppy. What kind of protection is this from the world's most wanted man? Time to show them how it's done. All over again. So, my apologies for my rather frantic departure from Gotham. The pit's mystical energies left me stunned and confused. I. I'm sorry for anything I might have said. No, it's fine. We understand. Ra's al Ghul has survived for centuries on such supernatural cesspools. I can imagine its embrace is overwhelming. And I assume that the purge is still active. That's why you followed me? and concerned for your well-being. I'm just glad you're okay. I want to know what Al Ghul revealed of his plans while you were his captive, and how one of your fellow Amazons is apparently involved. I I don't know about that. He bragged from some far-fetched plan to disrupt global communication systems. The missile in Gotham was a personal attack on you, but his ultimate goal was to contaminate the world's major oil deposits. Oh, wait. I read this wrong because of the stupid. Ah! Why? Sorry. Let's rewind a little bit, shall we? To get it right. Gotta get it right. He bragged of some far-fetched plan to disrupt global communication systems. He failed. The missile in Gotham was a personal attack on you, but its ultimate goal was to contaminate the world's major oil deposits. He seemed to relish chaos that it would cause. He's still got 2 missiles, which means he'll have to change his plans. Are you sure there's nothing else? No. My memory is fuzzy from just after the Bizarro attack, and, like I said, the pit. Think harder. Batman, go easy. She's had quite an ordeal. Which will seem like nothing if Rod detonates those warheads. I'm sorry, but this is no time for sympathy. We must find Ra's al Ghul and discover what he now plans. All the great conquerors suffered setbacks. Genghis Khan, Alexander, Xerxes, all learned to turn temporary defeats into ultimate victories, and none of those bore such a righteous cause as their standard, nor such a group of adversaries on their tails. The satellite convergence has passed, and Gotham still stands unscathed. Oh, that damn detective. Ah, look at that, Roz. Your little Ubu, he broke. Guess you'll have to get another one. He wasn't much good with his jaw broken anyway. Welcome back, my dear. I knew you'd return to us. Is that why you left me to die back in Gotham? I had no fear for your safety, young Artemis. I know how capable you are at taking care of yourself. Well, um, good. Which is more than I can say for the so-called purge. Your troop readiness is a joke. I slipped in here without a bit of trouble. Pause. I was wondering if that was Artemis. It's cool that it is, because I don't know much of the DC lore, but Artemis is one of the few Amazons I know. Anyways, back to action. He slipped in here without a bit of trouble. Yes. And who do you think left your ID scan in the security system? But you're right. I do have need of your marshaling the ranks. It is time to regroup and consider the best use of the remaining arsenal. And we must be quick about it. Even here, I have no doubt the Dark Knight will eventually find me again. Now you're talking. That's one of the main reasons I came back. Because when he does, I want to crack at him. Nobody ties me up. What I need is a safe haven, somewhere unknown to Batman and his colleagues. Somewhere beyond remote. Somewhere? I I know a place like that. They'd never find you. It's a perfect sanctuary, but you won't take it easily. Be prepared to fight for it. Fight for it? My dear, I have spent centuries fighting for what I believe, for what the planet needs. Still, it couldn't hurt to add a little muscle from our friend to the mix. The creature is still with you, then? No. But I know where to look. After all, a wounded beast usually returns to its cage. At the very least, I have a plan to locate the Bizarro. Even with his vision impaired, that monster still poses a tremendous threat. What do you have in mind? I managed to toss a tracking bug into its cape just before I clocked him. Like those things, don't you? I was about to slip one on Roz when he got ambushed. When I got ambushed. The problem is the device's range isn't on a global scale, and that creature could literally be anywhere. I suggest you utilize your super hearing to pick up the bug's signal. That'll give you the frequency. It's okay. I know it. But yeah, that sounds like it could work. It's a slim chance, but it might pan out. Meantime, anything you could do would be a big help, I'm sure. Now, just a. I mean it. Here, I snagged this back in Gotham. I thought you'd want it back. I. Thank you. I need to return to the mainland. I want to follow up a lead where Roz's whereabouts. He does love his little surprises. Good luck. Superman, you know how to find me. Like I couldn't see the sub following us. Luck's got nothing to do with it. Why? What? Why do you allow him to continue like this? Don't his methods make him very little better than the very criminals he pursues? I know. I felt that way once. Maybe it's the fact that we're both orphans. I had the benefit of a foster family, but Batman had to grow up on his own. But more important, I know his courage. I've seen him throw himself in harm's way time and time again, all to rescue the lives of innocents. And remember, he's got no extra physical prowess like you and I. I can't find it in myself to deny the exercise of such bravery, even if I don't always agree with his style. In fact, I often wonder if I were an ordinary man, would I show the same valor? I'll be in touch. The gods be with you. Thanks. Men are more complicated than I thought. Far below, his mind races ahead of the craft, scheming to outwit his opponent. Suddenly, the sub, tossed about by dolphins. Why? Nearly capsized. His finger tightens on the firing button. Then, just as suddenly, they're gone. Where? Yeah! How is that? Too far. Too deep. No gear. Possible. I read that wrong. Dang it. I hate when I do that. Probably doesn't bother anyone else too much, I don't think, but I just, let me go back. The narration boxes are really tough in this because sometimes they're spoken narrator voice, sometimes they're the character voice, but there's no like delineator to tell you how it is. And that's really, really bugging me. I'm like, I know this is an older school comic, but the editor really should have caught this. Yeah. How is that too far? Too deep? No gear? Possible. Grimacing, he continues. There are far more of these things in the world than he had ever imagined. Bizarro's eyes still hurt. I'm seeing now, but not good. Eyes still hurt. Why did Black Shape hit Bizarro? Bizarro not hear good either, buzzing in head. Won't go away. Go away! Bizarro want to be alone. Calmly, my friend. Buzzing. I know you've suffered greatly at the hands of our enemies. They are due for a reckoning. Becomes voice. Bizarro no voice. Racer Cool's voice. Together, my friend, we will bring them low. We will make them pay. Racer Cool and Bizarro's friend. Hippolyta has always been a wise and just queen. I seek her counsel now, as always. So, daughter, have you recovered from your ordeal? I have, mother, thank you. Yet something still troubles you? The healing bestowed upon me by the pit, although rank by nature, it still felt somehow familiar. Such magic has existed for eons, my darling. Its powers are strange even to the most learned mystics. I refer to the circumstances of my birth. Am I, too, a part of such aberrant forces? The ways of the gods are many, but you are a creation of life, not a corruption of death. Now then, aren't you going to tell me about your visitors? I see rumor travels fast despite any royal request. They are my companions in the pursuit of this world-threatening evil known as the Purge. One other thing troubles me. One of them insists that another Amazon is involved in this wickedness. How can this be? The ways of the gods are many indeed. When the Amazons were granted the refuge of Themyscira, a splinter group refused to accompany us. They eventually settled in Egypt, surrounded by the desert, even as we are by the sea. Known as the Bonamigdal, they have long resented our favored status among the gods. We have been separate all these years, and I wonder if one of them has fallen in with the wolves of the patriarch's world. I fear it must be so. Now go, return to your mission. Continue the fight for justice alongside your friends. Thank you, Mother. The gods be with you, and with you, dearest Diana. A lost tribe? Then it is one of our own I pursue. This is taking much too long. Why can't I find him? Bruce's device, while limited, still projects a much stronger signal than the monster's heartbeat. Something must be interfering with the transmission, like water, extreme cold. Bizarro's icy tomb. Someone was here recently. The snow hasn't covered the tracks. Still, they're gone, and even my hearing has its limits. If only if Diana's hearing is of the same technology as her jet, perhaps I can use the transmitter as an amplifier. Have to be careful. High enough for range, low enough for sound. Badoom, 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 badoom. All right, you big craggy beast. Now I've got you. Oz has the patience that comes with immortality. He's lost the battle, but not the war. Surely he will retreat and regroup, harboring his terrible weapons as a safety valve. Um, Alfred says we have a visitor at the front door. You gotta come see this. And exactly how can we help you, Miss? This is no time for masquerades, Mr. Wayne. When Superman visited you, he bore a device of my own that doubled as a homing beacon. My jet traced the residual path of that signal to a cavern located deep beneath your mansion. Turnabout is fair play, after all. But I've come to confess that you were right. I think there is an Amazon working with Ra's al Ghul, a renegade. Now it's more important than ever that we work together to overcome this threat. And I promise I won't hit you again. Get inside before somebody sees you. Alfred, escort the lady downstairs. How do people live like this, buried beneath the earth? His obsession runs deep. Where's Master Bruce has taken a faster route into the cavern, madam. Would you care for some tea? No, thank you. His name translates to head of the demon. He's worth billions. He's had centuries to build his forces and fortresses all over the earth. So where is he now? Oh, it was Bruce. See, I didn't know. I was like, oh, you went from here. It's like Alfred talking, and now it's Bruce talking. But how do you know? Probably if I was full page, I would know. Yeah. Oh well. I'm not sure, but he's likely got to go to ground now that his main objective's been derailed. And he's still got the nukes. Two, to be precise. I think he intends to use them as a safeguard, to hold hostage wherever he plans to hole up. But where? He'd have to move quickly to escape detection. He needs a locale that's all but unknown to the outside world. He knows I'd eventually find him. And, as you said, he does have an Amazon to show him the way. Themyscira? He's going to invade Themyscira? I need to radio ahead and warn them. If you're on board for this fight, I have a jet that'll get us there quickly. Absolutely. But if you don't mind, I've got some gear I'd like to load on. All right, I'm going to take a pause. Look at the chat here. Tehillim has joined us in the chat. Welcome, my friend. Um, he says Lazarus Pit should have different effects on different people and species. Plus, it would show it doesn't have the same effect on humans. Um, I would. I don't know. I'm no expert, but I presume the Lazarus Pit has the same effect on all humans. Um, I would suspect it would have the same effect on all just normal species. I think Wonder Woman has like a mystical background. She's a child of the gods. She was made from the earth. The pits are of the earth. I just think there's something different there. It affects her differently because of that. But that's just my take. I no expert opinion. Um, let's see. Ronnie says this reminded me of old school cell animation with the outlines and in some cases flat colors or simplified shadows tones. It does kind of have that quality a bit. Um, I definitely think Matt Wagner's got a little bit more of a cartoony style. He's always been, how do I say this? He's always had like a very independent art style that I never thought fit with the big two. Um, when he was drawing independent comics like Grendel or Mage or something, you didn't really notice it. You're like, oh, it looks like an indie book. But when all of a sudden you're drawing Batman and Superman, especially during this era, the 80s and 90s, or the early 90s at least, um, DC and Marvel still really had strong house styles. If you wanted to do work for them, you needed to draw very close to those styles. It was a rare thing that an artist was allowed to deviate from those styles. I don't remember exactly when this book came out. I want to say it was like an early 90s book. Wish we had someone like Breen here. But obviously, with the whole image thing, breaking the mold where it comes to art, you had people like Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld who had really stylistic approaches. You started seeing Marvel and DC breaking the mold more and allowing that. Um, so like here, for example, is a good, if you look at this full page, that very much does kind of have that cartoon cell shade type look at it. And because it's got the low detail of like cartoon animation versus typical good comic book illustration, when you blow it up, it suffers even more, in my opinion. Um, I definitely would not prefer to read it this way, where I'm doing frame by frame. I don't think it looks nearly as good as when you zoom out, but for the sake of people who might be watching on their phone or something, um, like I'm looking over on a second monitor, which is about the and the page is about the size of my phone, and I can't. It's tiny. I can't read anything. So it's a give and take. But I do think it looks tighter when it's smaller. It looks better. Um, so let's see. Uh, Geeky Puppet Show. It's our boy. I don't know if it's our boy RDV or his other identity, Froggy. His secret identity I've just spoiled. He says, I'm welcoming the tornado in my area by playing Arms Wide Open by Creed. Nice. A fellow Creed fan. He says that's bad art on Bruce. I don't know which time you, I don't know which frame to connect that to. Um, he says, I just want to join to read as Batman. Sorry, my Batman's not up to par. Um, but maybe a future story we do with Batman, I could bring you on. Um, let's see. And Superman flying in that position looks painful. I don't know which position. I'm not going to go back and look. Um, raspberry tea from Circle K. Yumma yumma. You're like, what? What are you talking about? Talking about raspberry tea. Don't you like raspberry tea? All right, so here we go. A supersonic jet, totally invisible. He wants one. Bizarro see better now, but still not good. Not far see. Not hot see. Bizarro's ears still buzz. Racer cool say it okay. Even over buzz, Bizarro here. Something fast. Perfect strike. Pow! Caught unawares, the monster flails as several hundred tons of the mountainside obey the laws of gravity. It's over, ghoul. Your insidious plans are through. Oh, really? You think one blow enough to eradicate your unfortunate brother? He's a clone, and I'll deal with Bizarro after I've disabled your fleet. I suspected as much. That's why I've lined up a small distraction for you. At this moment, one of my strike teams is launching a precision attack on your beloved metropolis, one that will surely decimate most of the downtown areas. You're lying! Perhaps. Still, I can't believe your fabled sight can bend itself to see halfway around the globe. Care to take that chance? This isn't over, Roz. Why do they always insist on saying such things? Superman hit Bizarro. Bizarro tired of being hit. Superman am not Bizarro's friend. Bizarro will. Uh, he is gone, my friend. Be calm. Again, inside buzzing. Bizarro here, Racer Cool. Besides, it's time to launch our mission. I'll need some help from you carrying the missiles. Now come. We have a kingdom to claim. In the many centuries since their arrival here, the Amazons have never faced a direct invasion, never had to feel the sting of a man's boot on their necks. To the to the woman they will die in order to defend the sanctity of their shores, which today just might be the case. That maniac. He wasn't lying. Far ahead, I see two airlines, radio controlled but loaded with fuel tanks. If they crash into any one of the skyscrapers, it'll create a massive conflagration. Pause here for a second. I think that this was written pre 9/11. I need to look now. um, let's see. When? Nope, it was after 9/11. Okay, so this book was created in 2003, at least according to the Comic Geeks. So I would say it's Wikipedia accurate, level accurate. So, um, wow. Okay. So this was after 9/11. So that's even weirder to me because it's 2 years later. Like, that's a little on the nose. Okay, anyways, sorry. Sorry, I got distracted. I got shiny. Let's go back. He wasn't lying. Far ahead, I see two airliners, radio controlled but loaded with fuel tanks. If they crash into any of the skyscrapers, it'll create a massive conflagration. Of course, they go for the highest one. Just who sits around dreaming up this insanity? I had to let him slip through my fingers to come home and save Luther's domain. The bitter irony drives me onward. The plane's momentum is enormous, but its wing structure makes its vector unstable, but steerable. I have to time this just right. Crash! Hope this works. Perilously close. The wounded birds plunge into the lake waters, loud but harmless. Some of the waterfront buildings might be flooded, but it beats the alternative. I'm coming for you, ghoul. As the hellish forces near paradise, their leader allows himself a smile, for this, at last, is battle, the decisive din he has fed upon for centuries. Suddenly, a water trough cuts across the point vehicle. Sorry. Sometimes the sentences like completely stumble you. Suddenly, a water trough cuts across the point vehicle's path. Hold up, friend. Slow down, I need you. Threatening to capsize and ruin everything. Squad leader? They're they're fine. Keep going. The monster pauses, right on target. A sonic concussion device, something to throw him off balance. Vroom. For starters, you take care of Roz and the missiles. I'll handle Bizarro. Done. It it's her. That's a cool shot. Not gonna lie. Titanium mesh, mega voltage, something to weaken him. Salt water could Saltwater should super amp the charge. Stinger grenades. something to confuse him. Once again, "It's over, ghoul. You will never take Themyscira." My blood boils at the very sight of him. On the contrary, its purity is exactly what I seek. What's more, it lies hidden from any detection. That, coupled with my brace of deterrents, make it the perfect safe haven. Besides, when I someday achieve my goals, the current populace will make a hardy breeding stock to repopulate the new world. As if Ares himself had birthed a mortal son. Like a dervish as attacks rain on my shield. Is he drugged? Incoming! High above, the sentries of Zeus lead the first wave of defense, but even enchanted eagles are no match for high caliber salvo. Time for the close up stuff. Mounted solar lasers release a blast with every punch. Muscle and flesh harden and crack. Try to take off a chunk of his face. As always, it's the speed that so amazes. Speeding bullets. Unit 2, be careful! The blood of Amazons. So much redder than she imagined. She cannot do this. Out! She cannot cause the death of her own. What was she thinking? Ha! Regardless of all your wonders, you are still just a woman. And I don't need any extras to combat the likes of you. His eyes are glazed with battle lust. Amazingly, his attacks descend even faster. The air rings with our clashes. Finally, one cut slices through. You have drawn first blood, ghoul, but I will end this conflict. Leaderless, the flight squadron doesn't realize they are under attack from within their own ranks. Aircraft strike the water, but some, not many. Sorry. Aircraft strike the water, but some, many, not in flames and without their propellers. Diana's jet had broadcast a high frequency distress signal. Ra's plan now stands starkly evident. Still, it seems one of his ranks has had a change of heart. A decidedly young and surprising female warrior. Could this be Bruce's mysterious Amazon? Your cause is hopeless, woman. Yield now, and I will make you my favored consort. Continue, and you will surely perish. I've had enough of your callous arrogance, your assumptions of grandeur and righteousness. Slap. You are no world savior, demon. Slap. You are pathetic. Man, clock. I suppose I must go in after him. The monster's tortured face crackles with rage. Its breath smells like a chemical furnace. Only one chance to stave off its attack. Hit him hard where it already hurts. Rawr! Bizarro no like black shape man. Thwack. Batman. The creature. Black shape man hit Bizarro in eyes. Again. Now Bizarro hit back in eyes. Yeah! Who might you be? Aren't you a little young to be piloting an assault copter? He shines like the sun god come to earth. Uh, uh, no! His scarlet cloak, prouder than any Spartan's. My, my name is Artemis. I, I'm only 14. With every ounce of my strength, I fight to restrain the creature's rage. Slowly, I am losing. And suddenly he is there. From his eyes, the fires of Mount Vulcan. That's weird. I said all black for 2 pages. Oh, it's because Kindle sucks. That's why. I had to refresh the page, and now they're there. Okay. Part of me regrets the monster's pain, even as the farm boy in me. Sorry, wrong voice again. God, it's terrible. I love this comic book, but it's so hard to read. Part of me regrets the monster's pain, even as the farm boy in me recognizes a mad beast that must be put down. Batman, are you all right? Can't breathe. Armor crushed. Hold still. I give him no time to recover, pounding him senseless, and now to imprison him. Somewhere I spied somewhere I spied on the hurried flight here. The mineral-rich magma appears a little more than sludge to my special sight. Deep in the volcano's bowels, I find no trace of the creature. Perhaps the hardening rock will hold him as tightly as his Arctic tomb. I scanned for Roz's body beneath the waves. No luck. If he was caught in the Gulf Stream, his corpse could have been swept anywhere by now. Poseidon's kingdom is vast. Leave him, and good riddance. Whatever's down there can have him. There. I've disconnected the firing mechanisms. The warheads are inert. I'm melting this. I'm melting the metal surroundings of the core into a hardened lump. It should keep the plutonium from leaking out. It's done. Time to consign these instruments of death to the deep. In the aftermath, I consider how closely we had veered towards utter disaster. Without Diana's sense of sacrifice and Bruce's unshakable reasoning, it might have all turned out so very different. I'm lucky to count them as friends. A search of the survivors turned up no trace of the renegade Amazon. I may never know who it was that came so close to destroying all that I hold dear. I am comforted to know that I now have 2 comrades who would do anything to prevent that. Good things come in threes. He has no doubt that Ra's al Ghul will someday surface to trouble him again. He has before. And so he continues the fight for justice. But now for something else as well. A memory of sunlight and dewdrops. He has seen paradise. Epilogue. Thank you, Ubu. I live only to serve your father, mistress. He has hidden on the far side of the island for months now, building her craft, stocking provisions. The resentments she's felt all of her life have been tempered by tranquility. But now, it's time to return home and give the role of Amazon citizen another try. Who knows what the future may hold? The end. All right. Hope you guys are still here. Enjoyed Trinity. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Um, really glad I bought this. I This was awesome. I don't know about you guys. First of all, I don't know if you've read this before. If this is the first time you've been exposed to this book. This is the first time I was exposed. Obviously, I got a lot of vibes of the the Snyderverse, especially the Justice League film. Not so much like the earlier films, but if any of you guys have seen the Snyder cut of Justice League, it's not a clone of this, but it feels like there's a lot. Like I feel like Zach read this book and like, or at least David Goyer who wrote like just feels real similar. Especially in the way that these characters come together, the way how in Justice League, like it's like Batman kind of is like discovering that there's a world full of supers, you know, um, different aspects like that. The invasion of Themyscira, um, there were just certain aspects. The way Wonder Woman was written, Wonder Woman's a tough go for me because part of her character, her existence, or whatever, is of course being this woman from an all-female society that thinks men are the the patriarchy and all this stuff, and especially in modern times in the woke 2020s, like that word patriarchy like triggers people, myself included. um it's a tough go. It's a nice fine balance. Now obviously this was written 20 years ago, before a lot of that nonsense, but that's still part of her character, like, and as a guy that's difficult to swallow. um it's tough. I just don't like feminism. I don't like it any more than I would like masculinism. I just um but I also do like that as part of her character. I mean, obviously this is a character that's different than regular human. She grew up in an all female society, so that's going to create prejudices and it's going to create things that, it's going to formulate how your worldview is. Um and anyways, I like Wonder Woman being a badass. I loved how uh, using Zack Snyder, how Zack Snyder used Wonder Woman in the Justice League. Thought she was awesome. Um, I liked her a lot in this book. I liked that she was tough. She was a warrior, but she still had like distinctive feelings, like feminine feelings. She didn't act like a man. I think in a lot of modern comics, she just would have been. I wouldn't have noticed the difference, but I liked how she didn't understand some of the ways like Clark and Bruce behaved, which was interesting because as a guy, like I understand why they behave that way, um, and it just served to contrast that quite well. I think Wonder Woman is a really cool character. Just for me, I think it's hard to nail it just right. If you deviate just too any like just a little too much in one way or the other, it like ruins her for me. But here, I was very happy. I really liked that all three of them were distinct. I like the grumpy Batman. I just that's my favorite. Um, but I do like him and Clark being friends, with just very different views. Um, I liked a lot so much of the story. I just liked a lot of the dialogue, some of the narration, some of the themes that they approach. Like when one woman asks, like, "Why do you allow him to act this way? Like, isn't he no different than the villains?" And it's like and how Superman responds and talks about like his bravery and stuff. Um, I was kind of hoping he would say something also on the lines of like it's not up for like any one person to decide the morality of another person, right? Like I think that to me is a very Superman type of thing where it's like he helps people, but he has no desire to tell people how to live. Like that's what makes him kind of like who he is. He's like he totally respects that you make your own decisions. Like he could rule the world. He could be king of the world and do so, like basically be what Lex Luthor wants to be, but that would be bad. That would make him a villain. And it's not up like his way isn't the only way. And so he's come to terms and learned to respect that Batman does things differently, but that's not necessarily wrong. Anyways, I just really like that. I like the use of the villains. I love that the other Amazon was Artemis. I kind of suspected she was Artemis. I liked it was 14-year-old girl Artemis because the only Artemis I know is the a grown up Artemis that was in Red Hood and the Outlaws. May that book rest in peace. another another casualty of rebirth. Man, what a cool book. Almost all the two of the three outlaws were in this book. You had Bizarro and Artemis, and just no Red Hood, unfortunately. But I guess he wouldn't have been around at this time. I like that it was told kind of in the past as like an origin story where these characters had never really run across each other yet. Um, yeah, overall, just a really fun story. Good threat. You have Ra's al Ghul, who I always thought Ra's al Ghul was a much bigger threat than just a plain old Batman villain. Like he's a global. I mean, he's essentially for many years, Ra's al Ghul was kind of the anti-Batman. They've since done efforts to make new versions of the anti-Batman. Like the most recent is the Batman Who Laughs. But Ra's al Ghul, for the longest time, had that title where he's basically he had the physical prowess of Batman. He could fight like hand to hand. He had the brains. He had the resources. He was just like if Batman were a bad guy. And I thought that was what made him an interesting character. And for that reason, as we've seen, like if Batman were a bad guy, he would be more than just some street villain. Um, yeah, all super cool. I really dug this. Here are the different covers. I like that they put the full pinup art of the covers. Um, I really do. I know that the art is a little bit like dirtier and maybe a little bit more amateur in its style, but there's something about Matt Wagner's art that is really I really dig. It's hard to put my finger on it, but there's something just like endearing about it. We got a sketchbook. Anya says it was pretty impressive. She had never heard of it, and it's pretty good. Surprised you hadn't heard of this. Um, let's see. Biographies. Matt Wagner. Matt Wagner's career in comics spans nearly 2 decades. That's when this was made 2 decades ago. His first work in the 80s was for Comico, where he introduced his two most well-known and respected creator-owned characters, the Mastermind Assassin Grendel and Kevin Matchstick, the Hero of Mage. Matt also has developed several projects for DC Comics, including the graphic novel that starred the villain Two-Face, Batman Faces, and a pair of projects that cast the Dark Knight against Matt's own villainous creation, Batman Grendel crossovers. Matt developed and wrote the fan favorite Vertigo title Sandman Mystery Theater for 5 years, and also wrote two popular miniseries that breathed new life into two of DC's lesser known characters The Demon, which he also drew, and Dr. Midnight, with art by John K. Schneider III. He continues to create new Grendel and Mage projects for Dark Horse Comics and Image Comics. Matt lives in Portland, Oregon, because, of course, that's where 99% of the comic creators seem to all live, with his wife Barbara, their 2 children, and 3 cats. So yeah, I remember when this came out. I wasn't even in comics. This is one of those. It was like one of those big kind of releases. Like it was like ooh. Um, so it's just one of those things that every once in a while I would see and be like, I should probably read that one day. So I think when I saw it on Comixology on sale, um, I was like, I gotta stop waiting. Like, and there you go. So I hope you enjoyed it. I think we'll wrap it up there as I don't know if there's another stream still going on or not. My breath, my breath, my voice needs a breather. I'm not sure what book to do next. Um, not sure what book to do next. I do have some books that I'm eager to read that I've like already read that I want to share, but I kind of want to wait to get into more of a rhythm in doing this so people can get on board. Uh, so I don't know if anyone has any ideas of things. If you know me or you think you know me and you think like, oh, Ash, you should. This is something really good. I'm always willing to hear suggestions. Teelam says, I enjoyed the live stream. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here, showing your support. Um, I like doing these. They're fun. Man, my favorite thing about comics, besides the comics themselves, is like sharing the experience. And this is I feel like the internet affords a really interesting way to do that, that you couldn't have done in the past. So, um, 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 uh, I already read Sarah on a um, previous story time. That's a really good book, by the way. Sarah's fantastic. If you're curious about that, you can go look it up on one of the previous episodes. Um, I'm just kind of scrolling through my comicsology right now just to see if anything catches my eye. I did Silver Surfer Parable on one of the previous ones. Um, that was really good too. Silver Surfer Parable. No, I didn't do Parable. I did. It was a different Silver Surfer one. It was the one where Silver Surfer dies. I forget what that one's called. It has a blackish cover like this. I might consider doing Parable actually. This is the one that's written by Stan Lee with art by Mobius. This was a really good. This might be my favorite Silver Surfer story ever written. Um, what is Stray Bullets? Stray Bullets. I don't know if I passed that or something. You saw it when I was scrolling. If I have Stray Bullets, I only have here it is. I only have issue 1. Um, it's a comic by uh, David Lapham, how you pronounce it. He's a crime writer. I've never actually read Stray Bullets. I think I got this as a freebie. In Comixology back in the day used to give away freebie stuff, or during when COVID launched too, or launched like when COVID was launched. Sorry, I meant to say when COVID was leaked. Sorry, I'm sorry, sorry, YouTube. When COVID unfortunately sprouted out of a Chinese wet market, when a pangolin and an anteater had happy times. Um, sorry, David Lapham is. I don't know much about him. I know he's a crime writer. He wrote a Batman book that I really want to read that Perch did a video on with Joe Corallo that they did a video on it. I was enraptured. I was like, I got to read this book. He's a crime writer. So I should probably read this issue sometime. I just picked it up free and was like, oh, it's free. You know, what am I going to do? Um, but Stray Bullets is, he's got a bunch of these. He's been doing Stray Bullets for a long time. So I'm assuming it's just crime stories. Maybe I'll read one. I'll keep, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep this in mind because I only have one issue. I'm going to keep this in mind for a time where I'm doing a story time and I have space to fill. You know, it's like I could read just one issue to fill some space. I'm going to keep this in the back of my head because there you go. I wish I could answer you better. Tehillim says Super Sons. That's not a bad suggestion, Tehillim. Not a bad suggestion at all. Um, my only concern with Super Sons is I have to do like little kids' voices. So they may come out really weird and that may ruin the experience. Um, let's see. Ed says, in my opinion, you've inspired a few channels with the story time segment. Oh, well, thank you. I don't know who I inspired. Um, let's see. Ronnie says the original Marvels by Alex Ross and Kurt Busiek. Now that is a hot fire suggestion. This is a big story to read, Marvels, because they're thick books. But man, so it's 4 issues or 5 if I, because they did actually 6 if I count the 0 issue. That's a lot of content, and especially since most of those issues are double-sized issues. White Knight by Sean Gordon Murphy. That's not bad. My only concern about White Knight, Ed, is that not only have I read it, but I feel like most of my audience has read it too. So my goal, this would probably apply to Marvels too, by the way. If anyone hasn't read Marvels, what are you doing? Like, do you hate Marvel? I mean, the only answer that seems plausible to me is like, I hate Marvel comics. Always have, always will. That's why I haven't read Marvels. And then I say, okay, well, that's too bad. Fair enough. But I don't think anyone here hates Marvel comics. Um, if you have ever liked Marvel comics, Marvels, this is one of the best comics I've ever read. I mean, it's it's a masterpiece of storytelling. It's all interior painted art by Alex Ross. Um, I mean, normally all you get is this on the covers, but when you read an entire book, and this is the art in the book, but this isn't just a chance to show off, the art. It's masterfully written. It's like 10 out of 10 writing with like 10 out of 10 art. Like it's just one of those rare things that you never get. And they managed to tell a story that encapsulates the Marvel universe. The story is called Marvels. It's not about like Spider-Man or the X-Men. Like it's literally about the Marvel superhero universe told through the eyes of a reporter on the ground. And so it's his perspective, and the way telling it from that perspective was so brilliant because it makes all the characters feel so much more magnificent and impressive. Yeah, I feel like everyone's read that. Like, but Super Sons, I feel like a lot of people haven't read this. Maybe a lot of people have. I don't know. That's it's. Everyone knows about Super Sons. I'm not sure. Um, I do have all of them too. Um, Although I wouldn't want to read them all. I would probably just read um, like the first story arc of the original, which I don't think these are in. Yeah, these aren't not in alphabetical order, so that's why I was like, well, I know I have more Super Sons in this. Oh man, I hate the way they categorize them now. This is Adventures Super Sons, so these are under A. Um, Batman Year One, my favorite comic of all time. That would be fun to read just because I would enjoy reading it. Um, let's see. You're missing challenge. No, I had challenge listed there. We'll get to it here in a second. I'm about to hit the C's. Da, da, da. So we do have all the White Knights. White Knight is a good series. Just want to avoid it being too long. I think White Knight's 8 issues, 9 issues. When I got into comics, White Knight was like halfway through, and so I discovered Comixology, and I was like, oh, I can't find the back issues. I was like, I'll just get them on Comixology. And then, of course, I liked it so much, I went and got the physical issues. Let's see. I used to have a lot of these comics hidden. The old Comixology app would let you hide books because like I said, a lot of this stuff I get for free. So you might see some books here that are just trash, like the Ta-Nehisi Coates Captain America. It's just trash. Um, but this is like one of the books that Marvel gave away free during COVID. Same with this Captain Marvel. And I'm not going to turn away free because it's digital. Like it doesn't take up any space on the shelf. Um, Chrononauts is one I did in the past. This is a really fun one. This is I. This is one of the better story times. I would check that out if you haven't. What else? There's all the Dark Knight's Metal. This I also had on Comixology because when I got into comics, Metal was like halfway through, and I was like, I'm not going to go back and collect all this Metal stuff, so I bought it digitally. This, in my opinion, Metal was the last good event between Marvel or DC. I really did enjoy Metal. Um, do a power bomb. This is one of the better indies that I've read recent times. This is an amazing story. Daniel Warren Johnson is just unreal. There's the entire East to West. Such a fantastic book. Um, oh, Books of Doom. I picked this up. I still haven't read it. um, it's Ed Brubaker doing a Doctor Doom story. That's high on the list of possibilities. Um, Ash's catalog looks like recent DC. Tons and tons of Batman. It's not that much Batman. I'm not gonna go back. Um, but I do like Batman. I mean, especially when you consider when I jumped in, I wasn't a big fan of DC. So Batman, of course, was like my gateway. This is a lot of freebie books that I got. Um, I Gotham Central. I picked that up. So I haven't read those yet, but that's I'm really looking forward to. Um, Problem tier two is a lot of the really good stuff I have is physical. Um, I did Jupiter's Legacy. This is if you're ever curious about Jupiter's Legacy, Mark Millar renumbered the whole series and like screwed it up. This cover right here is the original Jupiter's Legacy. Now they're all called. See, they have Jupiter's Circle and Jupiter's Legacy. Now they're just all called Jupiter's Legacy, and they're renumbered. Jupiter's Circle was a prequel to Jupiter's Legacy when the main like superheroes were because it's about superheroes and then their kids. And so in Jupiter's Legacy, it's about the legacy. And for all those you say I hate Legacy, this is the best Legacy it's ever been done. Jupiter Circle was about the parents when they were coming into their own. Well, what they did is because chronologically, Circle happens before Legacy. When they redid it, they numbered it so that Circle. This is now Jupiter's Legacy 1, 2, 3, and 4. But in release order, it was. I want to say it was one. Jupiter's Legacy 1 was the first. Then Jupiter Circle came out next, then the next Jupiter Circle, then finally the Jupiter's Legacy. But this original book, that's the one. If you read anything else first, it's going to taint your impression. It's going to be like if The Force Awakens was the very first Star Wars you ever saw. Like you'd never seen any other Star Wars. It's not going to, you're going to be like, you may like it. I'm not saying you would hate it or anything, but I mean, you're not going to be like, why is this like the most influential movie of all time Star Wars? Like, I don't see what the big deal is. Um, Anyways, I spent too long talking about that. Kingdom Come could be good. That might be too big. Um, I did Middle West on here already. Let's see. Ash, I do enjoy White Knight. There comes a time when you need a break from it. Well, there's not that much White Knight to heal him. I mean, they've only done three miniseries. Um, if you don't count the spin-offs. You could read the event that destroyed lots of characters, namely Civil War. I'd like to read something that everyone loves, or at least the potential. I read Old Man Hawkeye, the first 6 issues on here. If anyone was ever curious, that's back on the back catalog. Um, Ronnie says I did Longbow Hunters. I always suggest that. Yes, so Longbow Hunters is in the back catalog. I did Sarah. That was really good. I really love Sarah. Bum, 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 bum. Right, yeah. So here's the original Super Sons, the whole series, and of course the Tomasi Superman. Because if you like Super Sons, you really would want to read the Superman. I mean, it was written by the same guy. Still had John Kent. Great companion book. In fact, it was Superman that got me to even try Super Sons. I used to thumb my nose at Super Sons. I was like, I don't want to read about a 10-year-old kid. I was like, and everyone was like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. And I was like, whatever. So sounds lame. But then I was reading Superman. And then one day it kind of dawned on me. I was like, I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite because one of the things I like best about Superman is John Kent. And Damian is pretty cool too. I was like, so why wouldn't I like? I was like, I should give this a try. And as soon as I picked it up, I remembered the first issue I picked up was issue 13, and then they announced it was being canceled like within a month later after I picked it up. I was like, you mother. If there was one thing I would talk about Dan Didio pissing me off in his tenure at DC, is he would constantly was canceling books that I was getting into. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, I'm on to it. Canceling it. Oh, man. I guess I'll move over to this other book. Nope, we're canceling that too. All right, well, I'll get on this. Nope, canceling it. The Helium says the Almighty. I don't have the Almighty, but I would like to read it. Um, that sounds, yeah. I read these. These are the Robert Venditti Supermans that they did during COVID when they stopped printing real comics for a while. These are all really cool. Um, I also did Superman Final Days. That was really good. That's what leads up to eventually Super Sons and everything like that. But Superman Red Sun is something I want to read, but I think probably everyone's read that. Waiting on Amazon. There you go. Yeah, I wish I could hide the. It really annoys me that I can't hide these books, so I can just show off the stuff that's cool. Um, uh, uh, uh. Oh, there's Wanted. That's a possible consideration, considering Big Game is out right now. Big Game is the sequel, essentially, to Wanted. And it's been a long time since I've read this. There's probably a lot of people that haven't read it, and it might heighten their enjoyment of big game. Keelan says Tokyo Ghost is good. Yeah, that would be consideration, but it's kind of long. This is going to be on at some point. I picked it up. I have a physical copy of it. Um, but this is one of my all-time favorite Wolverine stories. This is one, in fact, probably the story that made him my favorite character of all time. I have the original comics. I've got the first printing of the trade paperback, which I no longer read because I bought it so that I could have people read it without messing up the comics. And then I got it signed by Frank Miller and Chris Claremont, and it's a first printing. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't damage this. So it just it's. And now I was like, yeah, maybe I should pick it up digitally so I can read it on the channel. And so that's why I did. I picked this up specifically so I could read it online. Ronnie says, find Emperor Doom. I have the physical copy. I have the physical issues of Emperor Doom, but I cannot find them digitally. Although it has been some time since I looked. Let's see. It's been some time since I've searched Comixology, so let's see if that has changed. Oh, all right. So now, Marania, I didn't. I just learned something. I didn't realize that there was a Emperor Doom. Okay, let me correct that. When you said Emperor Doom, I thought you were referring to this Doom: The Emperor Returns. These are what I have. I bought this whole series. It's Chuck Dixon writing Doctor Doom. I was like, whoa, these I could not find digitally. But Emperor Doom is something I didn't even know about. David Michelini and Mark Grunwald, huh? Hmm. Hmm. Ronnie says, I've been touting that book for years to you, Ash, since you've been a huge Doom fan. Um, I think I didn't know about this. I think anytime someone says Emperor Doom, I have been taking it to mean this book, Doom the Emperor Returns. Um, so yeah, I did not know. Um, there's also a sequel to Doom the Emperor Returns. I can't remember what the name of it is. Um, that's also a 3-issue series. Oh. Man, 69.50 for paperback. It's collectible. It's only 64 pages. Um, all right, Maranya. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna buy it right now. Live. Thank you, Ash. Cha-ching. I got Kindle reward points. All right, so now that's a possibility. Does it have the other book? Hmm. I already have this. I don't have them digitally, and I can't find these digitally. So I'm like, I kind of want to get those. All right. Well, I'm gonna end the stream because I'm just kind of browsing through books, and everyone's could care less about watching that. So Maranya, I have picked this up. You no longer have to tout it to me. Um, we will see about when I can get this though actually to the stream. But if this is something you like, um, here we go. That should be pretty good. Should be pretty good. Looks like a four and a half star rating. All right. I do like me some Doctor Doom. Um, especially when he's done right. I hate if he's not done the way I like him, I don't want anything to do with him. So I'll have to. I haven't settled on anything. I kind of want to do Wanted because of the big game book, but we'll see. Oh, I'll just have to ponder it. And people can. You guys know how to get in touch with me. I'm not sure when to keep doing the story time streams because it's really difficult. There's always either Froggy doing a stream or E doing a stream, and if I can just get a few people in here listening, then it makes it all worth it. But it seems like Friday nights is not a bad time because that's another thing. It has to be for me, and I don't want to go too late because if I go too late, then it means everyone, people on the East Coast is like. So if I could start by like 8 o'clock, I don't know. Then on Tuesday, Maranya does your game, so I don't want to do it on Tuesdays. Um, Thursdays we do the book club, although we haven't done that in a while. I guess maybe we can move the book club. Ah, it's tough. It's tough. But this is fun. I'm enjoy getting back in this. I got burned out before. I mean, I did like what 144 episodes before I stopped. That's a lot. So, but I do like reading the books. Um, so hopefully you guys enjoy this. If you have any feedback, leave in the comments below. Tell me what can be done better, what you don't like, what you do like more, do more of. Um, do you prefer longer readings, shorter readings? Do you prefer interrupted readings where I can interact with the chat, or just shut up and go full audiobook and pretend the chat's not there? There's all these sorts of things that I don't necessarily know myself, so that's helpful. And let's see what's going on. So tomorrow's Saturday, so there is an auction over on eStream. I think that starts. I can't remember when the time starts, but it's like I want to say it's like starts at like 5 or 6 Pacific time. Um, and then Sundays, I don't know what's going on Sundays. Um, says Ronnie says you're building up a catalog for later playback, Ash. The viewers will come. I just need some. I don't need like a lot. I just don't want to like ever launch a stream and there's like no one here. It feels weird to like talk to no one. Um, so Ronnie says 8 p.m. Eastern, England Teen Standard Time. Um, so that would be 7 6 5 p.m. Pacific. So there's the auction. If you are interested in getting comics for cheap, um, England Teen specializes in like basically dollar bin type auctions. So it's a really good way to get yourself lots of comics for a low price. A really good way for you to maybe experiment with something because you're like, oh, I've heard about that series. I wanted to check it out or whatever. But you want to spend a bunch of money. But if you can get, a handful or more issues for like $1 a piece, geez, when comics are like $5 a piece these days, and you can get 5 comics for that price, like why not? Especially when the comics are oftentimes better. It's worth checking out. And even if you're not finding comics in the auction that is up to what you're looking for, you can hang out and chat, and you never know what's going to come up. So that's that. Be back here Monday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific time, where we do late night comics. That's a show that I run with RDV from the Geeky Puppet Show, and also my boy, also Zach, has joined us as a semi-permanent, I don't know, addition to, and we are going to be covering Firepower. Firepower has returned, and we are going to be diving into issue 25 of Firepower. We'll also be covering the final issue of Nightclub. So that has been a fun one we've all been enjoying. And we just blather on about comic book stuff or movie stuff, TV, just, geek stuff in general. So it's about an hour and a half. We're trying to get it down to an hour and a half. It's tough. But that's our goal. So come join us, 9 p.m. Pacific, and be in the crowd. That's a much more interactive. We love feedback or, people talking and giving us things to talk about. And there you go. I'm just I'm just rambling nonstop at this point. So I'm gonna take off. I loved having you guys here. Love doing this again. I'm not sure when the next one is. I'm really trying to work to find a regular schedule for these. So sorry I don't have more info for you, but it hopefully won't be too far down the line. So take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.